what would it take for a great Zenless Zone Zero anniversary? Currently, in the year 2025, the year of tariffs and a bunch of other crap, the major gacha titans of Koro Games and Hoyoverse have gone 0 for 2 in their anniversary deliveries. And it's not to say that the content is generally bad, but there's a sentiment from the community that there could always be a bit more that's within reason. Zenless Zone Zero's anniversary is coming up in July, and I think it's time to look at the history of these other games' anniversaries to see if we can make anniversary patches great again. But before we do, congrats to Vantilla for winning our latest Internet Pass giveaway. Please contact us through Twitter and or Discord. Yes, we're still doing these here on the YouTube channel, so comment here on this video and the rest of our videos throughout the week so that you can get entered into a weekly Internet Pass raffle. All you need to do is make sure that you guys comment and are subscribed as we're trying to hit 25K here on YouTube. Make sure to join the community in the conversation. Now, back to the video. So, anniversaries. What is an anniversary? I think we should start there. An anniversary is a celebration of the day of an event that occurred in a previous year. Now, for any old anniversary, you probably hold parties, go out drinking, go for a honeymoon with your spouse. But for gacha games, it's a celebration of the game and the community that supported said game. And here I want to put a ton of emphasis on the community, as without these whales spending millions of dollars, these game studios would not even have their lights on. So as we head into a live service gacha game anniversary in particular, you'd expect to get some rewards that'll help the players grow their accounts and potentially even reward those who have been avid fans and players of said game, active players who have kept this game's metric in relevancy. And here's where we get into the hot water of it all, the Honkai Star Rail and the Wuthering Waves anniversary rewards. Let's take a small stroll down memory lane, which, to be honest, as of this recording, it's only happened a few weeks/a month ago. We have seen Jshoea release a few cool events tied to its celebrating the anniversary, a few activities outside of the game that you can access online, as well as some in-game rewards, around 30 polls with extra material to help craft your characters, and even tokens for a new system they implemented that will help grant players a new character, and another system that will reward higher spending who have maxed out copies of characters to get others and even weapons or light cones for them. Although the pool of characters available to be grabbed for free is somewhat out of date, these systems are introducing some very shiny incentives to jump back into the game and reward players who have been sticking around for the past 2 years. Even if Hoyo was pressured because of the power creeping issue they've been struggling with ever since the release of the new line of Enforced characters. But I digress. These rewards were not that bad and a stark upgrade from last year. But what could have happened to mar the amazing dawn that Honkai Star Rail was about to reach? Well, it was about the announcement of their newest unit, Castress. An arbiter of death who just so happens to be a really cute elf girl who uses a dragon to rain hellfire upon those who she opposes. Yeah, you could say she's pretty broken, but that's not all, folks, as her being strong wasn't the tipping point. It was that Star Rail also tagged into her an ability that would set the community on fire, the global passive. See, if you were to pull Castress on your account, the account would permanently gain a buff that if a unit died, they could be revived. And if multiple units die in a single turn, they could all come back to life. This in a vacuum is nothing crazy, but for the content creators of the game and those who participate in online discourse, this created a reverberation that did more harm up against themselves than good. And this was reflected in the many critiques of the game design and game projections online, yet Hoyo stayed firm and still pushed that global passive to prod, leaving the community somewhat split. Poll and you're a supporter of global passives that will artificially incentivize pulling for certain characters, setting a bad precedent for feeding into the corporation. Or don't pull and you're somehow an online saint. But in this instance, no one was praised for holding out on Castress or being F2P as the community simmered down and accepted its fate. Then we have the other side of the same coin, Wuthering Waves. I promise this is still a Zenless Zone Zero video, folks. Here's a little incentive for you guys to continue. Anyways, the other more popular game in 2024 that sought to really land its anniversary and even cut its previous patch short just so it could fit its anniversary before another certain Gunner game, allowed Wuthering Waves the limelight it needed to bring something great. But to many quote-unquote Kurobots, they were disappointed as the only rewards they'd be getting were around 30 to 40 pulls, a few materials, with a 6 and 6 rerun banner split of some of the better characters in the game, with no extra 5-star selector, weapon gifting, or any of that kind that was expected after the immense amount of corrective measures Wuwa took in 1.0 to keep the players incentivized, as they were actively putting out fires in the game scripts. It seemed like Wuthering Waves has taken a page from the book of another game company over on the other side of the fence, and shafted the rewards and catered the content to newer or returning players, versus celebrating those who had stuck around to support the game, the real shills. Yet to be fair, the announcements for the Cyberpunk collab was a shining bright spot, yet saying that it's going to release in 2026 doesn't mean that it applies to the anniversary or this update cycle, so I personally don't count it. Now finally we get to Zenless Zone Zero, where we're bound to have our 2.0 and anniversary live special programs due any week now. Well, what should we expect, and how should we either raise or temper our expectations looking at the bodies of the other two gacha games? Well, let's start first going through what Zenless Zone Zero has offered in the past and extrapolate from there. So far, Zzz'S has been quite tame in their award system. Unlike Wuwa, who has given out hundreds of pulls and a free selector off the bat, technically even a few 5 stars, Zzz'S has chosen to hunker down and focus on improving the game and really put the onus on the player base to respect the development. Literally was like a please let us cook moment. And it all came around in version 1.4, that magical patch where we all saw the coming of Zzz'S Jesus in the form of a Japanese katana-wielding void hunter, Miyabi. A character who was broken but didn't break the game, and a ton of rewards that was almost 50% more than the prior patch. And this was not an anniversary, but a soft reboot of the game, which arguably is just as important as you want to make a new impression for those who are returning or jumping in new. Now heading into month 10 or so, and the game is setting up some pretty cool stuff. Firstly, we talked a bit about anniversary banner units. In HSR's case, it was Casterus. More than likely, Zzz'S will be choosing one of its stronger units to represent its patch and the anniversary, and that is the Void Hunter leveled character, Jshoea. Whether she is or becoming one is TBD, but she's really super cool, and with the ability to control the mystical arts in a world full of robots and robot lovers. This is a cool direction change, and if we know anything about Zzz'S, is that they have a knack for bringing together the most seemingly irrelevant characters and genres and blending them into a cohesive story. So yes, we have a shiny new S-tier character to spearhead the anniversary. But the rewards, Josh, what are the rewards? Well, as far as the previous highlighted patches, we can most likely see around 30 to 40 pulls through gifts and logins, which is pretty on par with other titles. Yet, I'm also expecting them to gift us some type of premium package, much like HSR adding in some packaged goodies at discounted rates. So too has Zzz'S in the past implemented these gifts to be quite meaningful. Unlike Genshin, these boxes are absolute trash. Unless you have cash to blow, like, honestly, these are not even worth it. But now in Zzz'S, we most likely will have other forms of discounted premium pulls, reset on top of the bonuses, and I highly doubt they'll give us a free 5-star selector, but maybe. Personally, the standard 5 stars are much weaker than limited, but it would be a nice gesture. But does a free 5-star selector mean the difference between good and bad? Not necessarily. I think that aside from Z giving us some sick rewards, that we'll be able to get a ton, and I mean a ton, of limited rewards through events, much like the other titles that could grant us limited items, cosmetics, and more. Some other suggestions that haven't come up that are a bit outside of the conventional gifts is that we could get a free 10 pull on every limited banner, both characters and W engines, and that would be a super nice way to invite players back of all types, instead of just granting a banner of each rerun character without any extra incentive to pull on them. Then, you could also introduce an enhanced refund system, just like HSR did, and allow users who spend for premium currency the ability to gain extra items and maybe even separate rewards for spending. Yes, it's a bit predatory, but I trust that we're mature enough if we're watching this to know if we are going to spend or that we shouldn't spend. And lastly, some Hail Marys that I presented when HSR was actually running their anniversary pitch. A free token to upgrade any unit Mindscapes, basically a token to use as a copy for any character. This would be great for those veterans and avid players who have stuck around with the game to vertically invest into their units, and one free copy of a character shouldn't break Hoyo's bank. And again, you have to have the character before upgrading them, not just a free character selector. This would be a great way to reward the players who have supported the game before, versus with Wuthering Waves setting up, which only realistically is good for newer and returning players. Or just take a page from Reverse 1999's book and allow folks who have logged in for X amount of time to receive a free selector of any character, literally gifting a character to those who have actually been a supporter of the game, which for our 1999 is 365 days out of 1.5 years. It seems a little bit rough to me. I would have set the bar at 3 months or 100 days or something, but the point still stands. Again, an anniversary should be celebrating the accomplishments of the year and those who you did it with. Understandably, these games are business, but if Zzz'S can truly get it right, they'll do right by us as the community. And I'd like y'all to help spread this video and word, as well as temper your expectations, yet hold our game to a solid standard. And with that, what are your suggestions on anniversary events, prizes, rewards, etc.? Let me know down in the comments. I've got a Vivian advanced guide to work on, but I found this video to be quite the current event, so I was like, might as well fit into the docket. So hope y'all enjoyed. Make sure to click on this next video because YouTube thinks you'll like it. My name is Josh, and we'll see you in the next one.